Welcome back to Platform. Tonight we're talking about college athletes. Steroids are obviously a major problem in professional sports. Major League Baseball has seen the brunt of that lately. Are steroids a big enough issue to warrant congressional attention? Why or why not?
Yes, because I think there's enough of a persuasion of a fan base in baseball. I mean, kids who want to grow up to be baseball players, you don't want them thinking that the only way they can make it, or any sport, is if they use illegal performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, I mean, they are illegal, and so it's sort of the government's responsibility to like help stop their availability.
Yeah, it's like just any other drugs are illegal, so they should regulate this because it's an illegal drug. I agree.
Yeah.
I think the counter argument, I guess, I'm not pro steroids or anything like that. But I think the way sports go, it's not just this one moment in time. I mean, sports are kind of like forever, you see. So Hank Aaron's record, Barry Bonds being able to break that this year with performance enhancers, it just kind of puts a damper on the game. Like, how do you even things up? But then there's the counter argument, like I was saying, well, Babe Ruth didn't have, pitching like that. Hank Aaron didn't have pitching like they have today. And they also didn't have, weightlifting regimens like players do today, training regimens. Are those performance enhancers? Are those considered like steroids? They don't eat like they do, 30, 40 years ago. They have like vitamins that they're taking. Is that considered a performance enhancer? So I like I said before the segment here, I wrote a paper on it, and it was tough to think about because it really pulled me both ways. I don't really know what to decide, but I think it should be an even playing field, either an all or nothing type.
Yeah, it's funny looking at records; they're the same, like number-wise, but era-wise,
exactly.
It's so hard to compare.
Well, then again, that kind of sounds like that could be comparing like marijuana to incense. I mean, there's some things that are definitely like chemical changing on an unfair basis, and then there's like putting yourself on a 4,000 calorie diet and doing a weight training program and doing it with all natural things that could have been available to those guys back then, but now we have this scientific advancements to know that, okay, this is healthy and this is something that's available to us. It's like
the human growth hormone is natural.
I don't know if you should be taking that either.
I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Penis enlarging pills. Babe Ruth didn't have those.
They're not relevant, but I mean, he didn't have those. So.
Is that the kind of sports you're in?
Hey, that's old hat to me, baby.
Okay.
Okay, in recent hearings in Major League Baseball, there were a lot of players that refused to admit that they'd taken steroids, even though in some cases it was definitely obvious. Do you think that there is an embarrassment to admitting that you've taken performance-enhancing drugs?
I was just going to say they're probably embarrassed. I mean, it kind of, like I said, it dampers the game. It tarnishes it because it's like cheating. It's like letting people know that I did something wrong and still did well, but nobody knew. So it's just it's tough.
Well, as far as embarrassment goes, I'll admit I have anal herpes, but so admitting you use steroids should just be bacon and eggs to these guys. It's like, hey,
that doesn't. Okay, what? That
but
not
still,
everyone knows you.
If you look at Mark McGwire, if you look at people like Mark McGwire, who had nothing to say, he's guilty in the court of public opinion. Although he was never found, guilty by any congressional hearing, everybody who watched those congressional hearings said, hey, that guy's workout was just a needle in a bottle.
Well, yeah, it's like cheating. It's like you're not really the athlete that everyone thought you were, and that's why it's such an embarrassment. It's not about, having an embarrassing bodily function or something. It's about like who you are and what you represent to the people. It's a misrepresentation of yourself.
And then there's all those things that that steroids do to your body, that they change you and start making you grow in different ways, and just negatively. I think there's a lot of side effects that I don't think anyone would really want to have to deal with. So it's just not.
Well, not dealing with it and not wanting to admit that you went through it are two different things. I think like if you cheat on a test and you want your friends to think you're smart, you're not going to be like, yeah, I totally cheated on that. There is an embarrassment factor. I captured your hearts in 1998, hitting all these home runs, but really I was just cheating.
Our steroids, they're not a problem for our football team, are they?
Well, not for Mark.
I think.
That's he's not just going to say absolutely. All of us are pretty much taking them daily.
Sounds
they're not a problem.
What was that? Who was that guy I saw beef up over
I
this?
was just trying to get you to stop.
More very good. I definitely advocate that. What do you think about college sports as a whole? This is for everybody, but especially you, since you play against obviously other college players. Do you think that steroids is a big deal in college right now, or do you think that's something that's more of a problem on a pro level?
I think it's more of a problem on a professional level. I mean, I'm still young here, so I haven't seen much.
Right.
Maybe things are going right past me, and I'm not seeing that part of it. But I mean, I haven't had any contact with it. I haven't seen anybody on the team, that really get in trouble or anything like that with steroids. But I think just the push to win, that drive to win, takes some people over the edge, and it's just going too far, and in the future of sports, they're going to have to deal with this big problem.
Absolutely.
Well, look at it this way, Mark. I mean, you've been pretty lucky. You've been, a good football player throughout your time playing football. What if all of a sudden you can't cut it, and you all of a sudden you see, hey, I'm not as good as this next level, and that's what I think pushes. And I think reportedly, junior colleges have the biggest problem in college sports. Right,
because they're looking for that next
step. They need to get to the next level to get to a 4-year school and then hopefully play professionally.
Exactly.
So yeah, it would make sense that you don't see that sort of thing at a school that's obviously very hard to get into in any case. Well, let's talk about pro football. In pro football, they've had, since 1989, 111 players have tested positive for steroids. There have only been 2 second-time offenders. Should baseball adopt a steroid policy like this one that's really strict to put an end to it? Or?
Definitely. It's got to be, if you're going to restrict something, you can't, go around the subject. You got to go right to it and let them know what the rules are.
I think that if steroids are a bigger problem in baseball, it must be something that steroids, I don't know the medical, details of this, but it must be something that steroids do for you that help you in baseball more than they help you in football. So maybe they should try to regulate that more. But maybe I'm wrong.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this. Here tonight is college sports. We're going to move on to Title IX. Title IX was a law that was just passed, an educational amendment based on the concept there was discrimination in sports, and so now they're trying to make sure that there is an equal playing field between male and female sports. Was this law needed to ensure equality between women and men, and do you think that women and men would be as equal as they are today without this law?
Well, I think back in 1972 it was definitely very relevant, and it's one of the patterns I think in American history where once we've set an amendment and then the changes have happened, it's hard to say whether or not they still would have happened if it wasn't there.
Sure.
So I think yes, it definitely was necessary, but today it might be a little more detrimental because there's so much equality. It's almost like over exaggerated.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, it did get women, their foot in the door into sports, but I mean, it took away from a lot of like smaller schools who can't afford to give as many, twice as many scholarships as they were giving before. And I mean, really, everybody knows that the man's position is in the sports arena, the woman's is either in the kitchen or cleaning in the bathroom.
How did I know you were going to say that? Okay.
Oh, because it's true.
That's
wow.
Your opinion.
So glad there's a table
is wrong, but it's your opinion.
Well, your opinion's wrong.
But I think it's sad that we had to instate this in the first place. Okay, but I totally lost my train of thought now.
I'm terribly sorry. I would have too.
Thanks. Thanks for coming on today. But there's a lot of they had to give so many more scholarships out, and I mean it does.
Well, wait. Is that actually? Do you have those numbers somewhere? Because I'm pretty sure it just means that the distribution has to go 50-50. I don't think they have just come out with 2 times.
Okay, you're right. It
has
has to go 50-50, so they had to cut somewhere if they couldn't afford it. And
you were just saying add, now you're saying cut.
Well, hey, I'm John Kerry here. I'm flipping and flopping all over the place.
I think it goes against the fundamental nature of how we run. This isn't really economic, but I think it goes against the fundamental nature of how we run our economy. It's not very laissez-faire. It's not the strongest man, the survival of the fittest. If women's sports don't survive, if they don't get the attention that they need, then it's kind of too bad.
It's tough. They're working just as hard as us, though.
They may be working hard, but that's the reality of the world.
Ouch.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's hearted over there.
I'm going to have a bunch of women athletes.
What do you think about it?
No, I mean, being an athlete, I support all athletes, of course.
Right.
Men's and women's equally. And obviously we're going to get a few more fans at a football game than we are at, a women's lacrosse game or something like that. But, I mean, I know they're working just as hard, and anything to make them equal to us is fine by me.